Hi, I'm Akira.
And I'm Rohan now.
Welcome to The Long Take. This week we're discussing the new Ranbir Kapoor movie, Animal, which is directed by Sandeep Reddy Vanga and co-written by him and also the stories from him. I don't even know where to start. So can you just pick up something and we just shout at that?
Hitler stuff.
What is the Hitler stuff? Clearly, I've gotten lost in the 3 hours, 20 minutes of this nonsense.
The main business family operates on some steel stuff. It's called Swastik Steel. That's the company. Yeah. And at one point in the movie...
Oh, yeah. Someone's like, unka teda hota hai, hamara seedha hai. Some dialogue is like there.
Yeah. So that happens after he's addressed a gathering at the factory where...
With the logo behind his head.
With the logo behind him, and he's framed obviously some sort of dictator person, and he raises his arm and takes like a shapat, and it almost seems like a seagull. And I kept thinking oh my god, it's like a child making this movie. Is that your idea of edgy?
That is actually that sentence I think sums up everything about this movie. From the writing to the direction to the filming of it. It's almost like this is what I could think of when I was 5 years old, and 25 years later, whatever, I'm making the same movie now, which I wrote back then.
The ideas, you're right, the ideas in the movie, the way the movie kind of deals with certain things, it's very...
Dialogues also. The dialogues are so childish. They'll have a very serious scene, of someone getting shot with 2 bullets. The son will come, and instead of having a heart-to-heart and whatever, reconciling or whatever, the dude will mention that he's been shaved.
Yeah.
The most unimaginable dialogue now in that moment, they want to bring that in. It's almost like the movie is trying to be no, you can guess plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. You can guess all these 4 dialogues, or you've seen them before in other movies in your life. What can you not guess? We'll give you dialogue Z.
He's trying to act smart also. He's trying to be that's unexpected. I didn't see that coming. But then not in a way where you're impressed with the originality of it. It's just completely empty, right?
Yeah, after that whole fight scene, he's super injured and whatever, he needs multiple surgery or whatever. And the next thing after that isn't some he's sort of grappling with what he's gone through and what he's done to his family and what he's done to himself. The next thing is some puja nonsense.
In which he drinks Gaumutra, by the way.
Yeah, which is that's the only line I think that she's given that scene, Rashmika Mandana, is to mention that this is cow urine and then he drinks it. It's almost that's what I'm saying, this movie's entire agenda is just to bring up certain things which are in Vanga's head. He needs to somehow bring them to life on screen, and he has no idea how to meaningfully tackle them, then throw them in as 3-second zinger.
I remember there was this moment where he finally uncovers the identity of the person who's attacked his father, right? And it's his brother-in-law. At least one level of it is his brother-in-law, and he's oh, finally I have evidence. He's tapped into his phone, all that stuff happens. Pakda gaya tu. And the movie immediately cuts to him talking about underwear and stuff. Mera underwear.
Yeah, that's the next scene. He's yelling at 5 people who work for him, who have worked for him for 30 years. And now he's discovered that the detergent they're using is substandard.
Isn't that insane? And then I'm wondering, what, agreed, not anything in this movie so far has made sense, but this was particularly baffling. I was tune?
Yeah, it's almost random sketches are lying around on his table. Discarded sketches, and he's okay, ये sketch मुझे पसंद आया, इसको कहीं घुसा दो script के अंदर.
Which is ironic, because then there's this whole scene in the movie where he's talking to someone on, I don't know, Zoom or something, and apparently they're designing weapons, and Ranbir is मैं अपने weapons खुद design करता हूँ, ये नहीं चाहिए मुझे. What? And his wife comes and throws the laptop.
But the underwear thing is clearly retrofitting, it's thought, right? It's almost he needs that scene because he needs a scene of him later of having been caught in the hotel where people emerge and he needs to borrow.
Yeah. So exactly. So
what is this movie? What are we how can this movie be about this?
And then no wonder it's almost Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah. It's insane. But it's not anything happens, right? After the hotel attack scene, between which is I think around 80 or 90 minutes into the movie, until they start to actually figure out that Bobby Deol was behind it and they need to tackle it. Between those two things, I feel the movie just was
most of the movie could have ended after that interval fight scene, whatever, right? That was like an hour and 40 minutes. I remember looking at the thing also. It was an hour and 40 minutes, and I remember thinking, "Ye to perfect length of a movie, and you've resolved everything." You know, it's not like I was wondering ki ab kya hoga. It's just I knew that half the movie is left, but then it's effectively resolved. But then the movie kind of restarts.
Yeah, like you caught the guy who didn't know, but they have to like put another guy on
and
top
another
of that
guy on top of that level. So there are like 3 levels, right?
Yeah.
And you can theoretically go on forever. Like उस Bobby Deol के ऊपर भी 4 लोग होंगे, who knows, right? Prime Minister तक पहुंच जाता, who knows? We just like figure, why don't you introduce Bobby Deol, and why is he not the first person that you're after? Why is he like introducing this iMovie transition that happens 2 hours into the film? Like,
like it, and you kept like not only the actor for so late into your movie, then you've done the disservice of like keeping Bobby Deol's voice from the audience.
Achha, chalo, that's, you made a decision, whatever. But narratively speaking, it's not as if Bobby Deol's character is mentioned ever, like in the movie, or they build up to, oh, there's this one person, he might be like the craziest of them all. It's just
they're not like teasing him throughout, right? It's just like out of the blue, like ye tha.
Random. And then that is accompanied with full like exposition, right? Which his brother gives to his wife, of all people.
Yeah, new wife.
I was like, wife ko to pata hoga na ye. You could have found anybody in that marriage. You could have had him talk to anybody, any guest, right? Why did it have to be the...
But nahin, the third wife, who should know everything.
The strangest aspects of this movie are what he has spent the most kind of energy on, right? And it's none of this, like none of it, like the scenes that connect from one thing to another, building kind of threads, thematic or otherwise. वो सब में time कौन लगाएगा? Let's design like this penis gun instead.
Yeah,
let's take some time.
It's like that moment is built up, right? Instead of building up like Bobby Deol for 2 hours.
Yeah.
They build up the penis gun for like 10 minutes.
Which tells you everything you need to know.
Basically, tells you everything about this. Like the director's vision.
Full
quote unquote.
Guy comes, he does this thing, and I'm like, oh my god.
That guy you spent so much time on. That guy I know more about than Bobby Deol. कि उसको पसंद नहीं, उसके shoulder पे हाथ रखते.
Obviously, the movie is trying to be funny also, but then I don't know. There's like moments which are completely, they feel unintentionally funny, right? Especially like towards the end, like I just, after 3 hours 20 minutes of this nonsense, I was like just losing my mind, and this person is like in the final whatever fight scene,
and then when someone shows up at the end, like that one of the dudes claims they've been fighting for 2 hours. I'm like, 2 घंटे कैसे fight कर सकते हैं कोई? Like कुछ तो number, like if you want to make up a number, at least make up a sensible number. These dudes have been standing on the side for 2 hours.
No, it's not like during the fight they've had like, they've implied that 2 hours have passed. You know, it's not like some like jump cut where it's not. It's just regular punching. They could have said 10 minutes and I'd be like, okay, yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
10 minutes to main dekhi.
And making everything worse, making every action scene worse, is this senti Punjabi music, man. What is with that? The entire movie is just about that. The first opening minutes, Papa Mere. I'm like, shut up. Stop it.
The Papa thing is though like a recurring motif. No, that plays at the end also. Like beginning, middle, and हर जगह आता है वो. जब भी अनिल कपूर screen पे आता है.
Every random scene where they want to suddenly they be like, no way, just ये scene play नहीं हो रहा है, अच्छा. तो post production में बैठे like Vanga like क्या कर सकते हैं इसके साथ? अरे यहाँ भी डाल देते हैं एक और ऐसा senti गाना.
But that's not what it comes across like. No, so both the final action scene, the punching stuff, and the old boy ripoff, it's written, the music is almost written into the scene, right? Because in the
the only one I felt the music was written in is the penis gun one, where like everyone starts singing and he's the only one fighter.
Yeah, वहाँ पे तो is clearly everyone
Bath obviously is written because otherwise like what there's no participation for anyone except him, and that's
it's almost like the movie we spoke about last week, Salar, where all the women started singing in that one scene.
Yeah.
Similar.
But I mean, it made sense because like the women are afraid to take on these dudes. यहाँ पे the dudes have guns. And they're standing by, they're like, नहीं बेटे ये हमारा करेगा भाई.
हम भाई करेगा, हम war anthem गाएंगे or whatever.
Yeah, and the whole like that's a whole bhai mentality only ना वहाँ पे which is happening. Like उसका, instead of hiring like the security people, he goes to a random like village in Punjab and hires his second cousins or whatever.
No, but then he explains it also. Now, how do we like debate that now. वो तो explain करते कि वो लोग तो, you know, they don't have loyalty, this, that, but you people are my family or whatever.
Right. And what about like expertise? That doesn't matter, no? You can just fire randomly and you hit someone. The movie's like so like enamored by itself sometimes now that I'm just like, nahi tumhara ho gaya, you sit down.
The weird thing about the movie is like it's so like the teenage mentality is so strong, right? Where like, oh, like look, let me be edgy now and show them. But then I'm like, it's not even that edgy, right? It's fairly like regular, and you can pinpoint the
never makes your mouth go open, be like, oh, how did you do that? Like, how can you say that? Like, never. That never
happens. In fact, I watched that Kabir Singh leading up to this. You know, I had never seen it. And I watched it. And that movie is genuinely offensive. Like, you know, there are moments.
Right. Yeah, so in the moment this one happened, like the moment that everyone was going, like, how can you do that? Like that bootlicking dialogue. I was like, nothing happened to me. I was like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah. I mean, nothing happened in that scene, right? Because that's exactly the sort of thing that you would expect someone like that to say. And like, she just walks away, like nothing really happens in it, right? It's not like the moment in Saltburn where like Barry Keoghan starts humping his lover's grave. Where that...
Yeah, like you have to like either film it in a way or you have to build it in a way or you have to like, you know, you have to commit yourself to it. And you're not committed to anything.
Which is why, you know, so Kabir Singh, what was really like almost effective about that movie, not in a positive way, of course, but the reason it kind of gets you so riled up is because it felt like this person genuinely believes in the things that you're seeing in this film, right? You can sense the misogyny. You can sense that this person hates women. Not the character, like the person behind the movie, you know? Character to hai, but the movie itself is so like reprehensible.
Right.
Here, it's a regular movie.
Yeah.
But you can identify the moments in which the director is trying to kind of...
Yeah. He's trying to be like, as you said, be edgy. Like he's literally a 14, 15-year-old to be like, nahi, I'm adult too. You know how like we were teenagers used to be like, mujhe adult banna hai. You're not there yet. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have like, you haven't seen the world enough, but you want to feel like adult. That's the phase he's stuck.
Yeah, and you like the scene that you just identified, like that scene, or the one in which he's like, alphas hote hain and the rest are poets or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, it comes so early into the movie that it sets the tone, right? You're like, oh, so this is what the filmmaker...
But then...
It's not like Killers of the Flower Moon, right? That you offset it by showing a character they're preying on. Yahan pe, they show these guys as like people to be admired. Rashmika Mandanna is like a side B, like you are the beta, exist in the corner. You are like nothing in this.
No, but then he'll make her like slap him 5 times as if to make a point.
He gave scenes, but he gave scenes that after the 100 minutes, no, that tells you about it. If 95 minutes is with Ranbir Kapoor and then she arrives, then you're like, yeah, doesn't it? This you're doing as like tokenization. You don't actually care about it. You're doing this because people will criticize.
Exactly.
So that's why you're like, okay, now I should put this. But because you've taken us like through 95 minutes of like Ranbir Kapoor being an asshole by then, I'm like, yeah, this is nonsense. I don't care about this.
You don't buy it, right? So when she slaps him 5 times, you're like, yeah, I know why you're doing it, and that's because you're like, you don't have the courage, right? You're so afraid of being called out again. So you'll do the exact thing that you feel, but without understanding like the nuances of it, right? Just thappad maar diya, that's not the issue, sir. The rest of the movie around it is the issue. We got annoyed because of the...
Twice, like she got another scene like that later on, you know, when she's like, I'm leaving you, or like we'll sleep separately and all that, but you're not... It's the way it's being conducted, like the writing and direction of it is just so off. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying any of this.
None of it matters because the entire movie, you've kind of built up your protagonist as like some sort of misunderstood bichara hero, right?
Which is like, that's the angle you've set in, right? The first scene you've shown him as a kid of like trying to earn his father's love, and which like at 3 hours later he's like crying that I'm the best son in the world. So that's your movie's worldview of like, that's what you try to show. So you can't try to then suddenly pivot and be like, no, wait, I'm trying to criticize him also. No, you're not.
And in the middle he has this thing also, na, ki, main hero hu na, and his child is like, haan.
His child also calls him, yeah, you're a hero. And then to bring on back the motif that you talked about, at the end when she's actually driving away with the kids, no, the kid suddenly gets out and starts running towards the dad. Kyun bhai? Kahan se? For what reason? The kid probably doesn't
For
see his
what?
dad ever. Like this dude he criticizes his dad all the time of like not being a good dad. He's the same one only.
Yeah, but the movie doesn't, I don't know, deliberately or not, the movie doesn't like identify like this cycle of trauma or whatever.
Doesn't identify and then tries to like whitewash it by having the kid run to Ranbir Kapoor, because you're like saying that no, the kid loves him without reason.
Mhm. It's very, I don't understand what the point of this is. Like, I really honestly don't understand. I understand that he is very like fascinated by this person and it's almost like he's projecting, right? But then I don't understand what the point, like, are we supposed to feel for him? I know in some scenes we are, but then in other scenes the behavior is just so obviously bad, and then you have multiple characters in the movie kind of acknowledge the bad behavior also. Like they're like, "Tu pagal hai, ye hai, wo hai," you're unhinged. So I'm like, what is the point then? Pick a side. Like, at least make me think.
No, I'm not even sure like
Right.
he needs to pick a side, but like after a point you have to give us a reason. I think that's like what you're getting at is you have to give us a reason to like why are we following this dude, right? Like what are you trying to say though? Like are you trying to say that
doesn't
India is
evolve.
full of these people and like like
No.
this is why we find a country here, because no, that's not coming across.
No, that I don't think that's the point at all. Like, इस movie में कोई context, political context तो है ही ना, social context. There's like no understanding of what the real world is or in characters के आसपास क्या हो रहा है. None of that is happening. But you're right, it's not like he changes much. Like, he's even as like a 6-year-old whenever we meet him first to whatever 50 when he's
Taking a
doing
K-47 into a college.
every scene he's the same person.
Yeah.
He doesn't change. From frame 1 to the last frame, he's the same person.
And magically the people around him don't abandon him, right? Like his sister sees him like at different ages of like how he's behaved, but she continues to be like, brother, I love you.
Speaking of the sister, I want to talk about like the Godfather. Like, he's clearly ripping off multiple movies, right? We mentioned Old Boy wala the scene here. There's like I noticed like 21 grams. That whole romantic thing is like very 21 grams. Where the woman with the whose husband or whatever,
Which is like a lie, right? Like it's not actually her husband. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously there's the Godfather stuff, a lot of it. But then it's just each of these things you sit back and think, you're like, oh, so you've watched all this and you've misunderstood what the Godfather is about, right? On like a story level, and चलो तुम Old Boy को तो story का तो copy नहीं कर रहे थे, तुम उसका flashy style copy कर रहे थे, and that also you messed up. उसका the only good thing about that scene was कि उसमें cut नहीं था, and in your action scene you have 1 million cuts.
Yeah,
you can't even that mechanized whatever goal वाला 360 shot that he does, उसमें भी cut करे हैं उसने.
Yeah,
even though I feel that when on set it would have been like one graceful like motion, but in the movie that we've seen it has multiple cuts, and I'm like, ये क्यों कर रहा है? You had it
वही है ना,
then.
filmmaking language अगर समझ आती तो पहले ऐसी मूवी बनती ही नहीं ना. This is like the same like thing happening, right? Which happened with like a guy who watched Apocalypse Now and he's like, I'll make Kong Skyline now.
I mean, in front of this movie,
that looks
Kong
like great.
Skyline.
Then obviously, yeah. But like this is like tells you, right? Like what level we live at is that these people are revered and celebrated.
And the thing about this is like it's been like 2 months now, right, since this movie came out in theaters, and all the stuff that's happened after the movies come out in theaters, and you can sense like the discourse around it and what Vanga has gone around saying. You can sense that he is in many ways Ranvijay himself, right?
Yeah.
He is so desperate for appreciation.
Which is why he's willing to like append every sensible decision that you would go for, right? Like the movie's official account like goes after critics and start attacking them.
It's quite insane.
Which is basically like Vanga subtweeting. Like he could basically do it from his own account if he wants.
Yeah. No, but the interesting thing is, and as somebody who kind of, because of my job, I listen to a lot of this nonsense, right? And normally what you hear about like films like, Bawal. Remember Bawal? The one with the Hitler thing?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And when people are questioned like, oh, Varun Dhawan, why did you think that was sensible? Like what happened in Bawal? Or you ask like Nitesh Tiwari or any of these Bollywood people. And their answer is, oh, but at least it made money. So that is all that matters to us. At least it made like 300.
Yeah, which is the same thing we discussed last week, right? Like it's almost like they're in the weapons industry. They don't care. They what makes them money.
The point is that is their defense. Like that is something that they'll always say in their defense is that
like someone's paying for it, and by that reason you're wrong.
And we don't care about bad reviews because the audience is ultimately
what we cater to.
But what I'm getting to is that this person, Vanga, ironically, has gone on whatever interviews, this, that, and he has not once said, my movie has made a ton of money. He has not once said, oh, but like I don't care about all this because I'm like filthy rich now and I'm like the most successful filmmaker of the year. None of that he said. The only thing he said is that these people didn't give me good reviews.
Which like tells you what he actually wants, right?
That's what he wants, and he's never. And you know what the funniest thing is? It's not funny. It's kind of tragic also. Is that he's realizing isko kabhi life mein nahi milegi good reviews. he's like that is his like ultimate tragedy, which is why movies like
the funny thing in this is that even if he like removes all his like offensive sensibilities, like, you know, like he was like, okay, I won't try to be a teenager anymore. Filmmaking nahi hai na is movie mein finally tab bhi. It's not like the film Incoherent itself is that, as he spoke about the last 20 minutes, is there anything worth saving there? It's not like he knows writing, he knows dialogues, and he knows direction, or like knows like action choreography or something. No, wo bhi nahi hai. To like sab kuch खोखला hai andar.
Yeah. So I mean, I mentioned like Saltburn again. Like I can imagine people hating Saltburn, right? I can imagine someone watching it and being like, yuck. Why is this? Like, what are you trying to say? Why are you following this person?
The movie is divisive.
But I can't deny that it's very well made.
Exactly.
It's made by someone who knows how to like pace a scene, frame a shot.
Yeah. It's like how we spoke about The Killer, right? A few months back. Like you can, someone criticizes the movie and says like, movie ko ja hua nahi, ya movie it's like a, you know, it's like humdrum. I cannot, sure, I would agree with that criticism. But is it well made? Like, yeah, absolutely.
This one is just like
yeah, you can't be like this director is good and you can apply him to a better script. Ye suppose situation nahi hai.
This person needs to be like put in like some sort of jail cell and told कि listen, पहले तो 2 घंटे कम करो. Without like full like we haven't even touched on some of the random stuff that happens. There's like some
because that'll take us like half an hour, man. Because every 3 minutes the movie's trying to do some nonsense, right?
Yeah. Full like uska Hum Shakal aa gaya, Anil Kapoor ka duplicate aa gaya.
Twice in the movie they use plastic surgery as a way to be like you can create clones essentially, which is
fine. Rich people do it, you know.
Yeah.
But the way in which this movie kind of just throws it at like you know, and then like this love affair that happens deep into the movie where you're like, ye kyun ab aa gaya? You just stopped everything in its tracks and started
the entire movie stops just to suddenly be like that this dude having a affair now. This will happen for the next
and then he's like, nahi, wo mera plan tha, maine usko.
It's like insane, right? Like this director like wants to like seem as like a 21st century like whatever visionary, and suddenly he starts throwing like all the 70s, 80s and 90s Bollywood tropes at you.
Yeah, it fully turns into an Abbas Mustan.
Yeah, like a number of plastic surgeries and like people being like, no, I knew your plan but you didn't know your plan, uska upar ka plan. Or people going mute because of trauma, like classic Bollywood trope, like just like stuff nonsense like that,
which they throw at you like before he's introduced. Like it's again exposition, like uske dadaji, us apne dadaji ko dekha marte hoye, and uske baad wo gunga ho gaya. Well, एक second, kya? Who are we talking?
And then to set up the sequel, like this, use the same combination of words again and again. वो professional butcher है. I didn't know they were amateur butchers.
What is a professional butcher?
Yeah, aren't all butchers by profession? Professional. Combination of words. That's just done too because like that's gonna be too Ranbir Kapoor, right? If he gets to make his nonsense.
What does it mean? I am an accountant during the day, but like sham ko I'm a butcher. Not a professional butcher. But what is a professional? For the actual butcher, like
I don't know why someone thought of it that you need to put professional way before butcher.
Like a meat butcher or like a person butcher.
Yeah, meat
Like,
butcher.
does he
Obviously. Person butcher. That just called a murderer. Roman.
That's good.
That's one way to introduce someone. He's a person butcher. What? What is that? He kills people?
No, but that's the sort of like, it's such a weird combination of
Yeah,
words. You're
I
like,
know,
iska
right?
matlab kya?
I was like, what? It's not like they accidentally like he said once and they never use. No, they have to bring it up again and again. Professional butcher. You realize it's unintentional comedic, right? You don't understand it. Do you?
How is he a what does it mean? So his brother is like some don, then like really influential whatever,
Yeah.
but he's a professional butcher?
In his son.
What is that?
Why is that important? I don't care where he's from. It's not like the movie's going there.
It's like Vanga is like, but if we see him use knives, will the audience buy? कि इसको knife
Yeah.
work कैसे आता है?
So we
We need
must
to
set it
explain
up
it.
before, otherwise people won't buy. Bro, I bought all his Punjab Sikh cousins wielding guns and shooting expert headshots. I think I can buy anything up to this point.
Person has no idea what he's doing.
What's actually important, right? I think that's the entire thing. Movie wrong with this movie is that he doesn't actually know like what's important. कि इस पे focus डालो. Like ये 1000 other things है. Underwear soft नहीं है, detergent खराब है. ये प्राइवेट प्लेन में जेट में सेक्स हो रहा है पर ऑटोमेटिकली प्लेन कहीं कोलाइड नहीं हो रहा है बट अब कोलाइड हो रहा है तो आपको बचाना पड़ेगा. I'm like what? अभी तो कोलाइड नहीं हुआ 10 घंटे से.
But if he focused on like only the important stuff, this movie would be like 3 minutes long.
That's the thing, right? It's literally like, I love Papa a lot. Someone went up after my Papa because he's the richest man in India. I tried to save him and then I created a body double to save him. Body double died in 2 seconds. So then I must save him again. Like, that's the movie. Khatam. And I found that my second cousin ka granddaughter ka grandson wants to hate him. Uske aur bhai him who will come in the sequel and then I have to fight against my own face because he'll try to kill my family and they'll think that it's my face.
Yeah.
Bro, Abbas Mustaq would like
least-
worship at Vanga's field and be like, bro, हमें नहीं आता इतना twist डालना जितना तूने करा. And then this is what India was to watch. Salar and
Yeah, that is the actually
top
that's the
10
most.
में घुस गए of all time. Thank you, India.
We've done I think all of them now. We've done Leo also, Salar also, Animal also, Pathan also, Jawan also. So you've done all the top 5 now.
State
One of
of
you
cinema.
don't.
Welcome. We've learned
Everyone's
that this,
really angry.
we should never do the Log Ka Kya Kahenge segment because we have no idea what Indians love at this point.
No, but we do, right? Like
Actually,
it's where we know people.
Now we know. By watching these movies, we know. But we know that Indian cinema is basically like in the dumps. And then
It's
people
in the
love this garbage. So more garbage like this like come.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people, like especially critics, have like complained about this more than say
Salar,
even like
yeah.
Leo or Salar.
Yeah. Which is like, I don't understand. Like, what are you missing? What are you finding in Salar which is so like praiseworthy? Please tell me.
So I don't know, honestly. But this is though like it is one of those few things where like, you got it right. But then on the other hand, it made like a lot of money. So Vanga's the winner ultimately. But he'll never be happy. He's like crying at the end like Ranbir Kapoor. You know,
because
like,
the people he's actually chasing, uske piche he's sending trolls. So, good luck for him.
Chalo.
Okay, that's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at The Long Take Pod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review based on the episode. We will not come after you, unlike Oka. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.